Imagine if money was no objective. What bottles of whiskey would you add to your collection? Well, in this video, I'm going to go through my 5 top dream whiskey bottles. So welcome back to the channel everyone, my name's Mark Littler, I'm a whiskey broker, consultant and market analyst, and if you're looking to buy or sell whiskey, head to marklittler.com, we've got loads of information there. Now in this video we're going to take a look at 5 amazing bottles, and they're all part of the Sotheby's Timeless collection, which is coming up in New York on the 23rd of September, and it's being sold by Sotheby's. Now the bottles in this collection belong to one of our clients, and Sotheby's are auctioning them on the client's behalf in New York. Now let's just jump straight into the first bottle on my list. So if you've watched this channel before or watched any of our other videos in the past, you'll know that I love Black Bowmore. I think it's one of the most underrated series of bottlings on the market, especially the first 3, which are, pretty much fly completely under the radar. Now, it's fair to say that this bottle doesn't fly under the radar. It's the Black Bowmore, the last cask 50-year-old. It's estimated at $38,000 to $50,000. Which seems like a lot of money, but when you think the record for this bottle was also sold by Sotheby's actually for $93,000, you start to see, well, this one's actually quite well estimated. Now, it's called the last drop or the last cask because apparently someone in the warehouses, they noticed that these 2 casks were low. They've vatted them together when they were doing the other Black Bowmore series, and then this one was left in the warehouse for quite a number of years, only to be found again in 2014 when they released it with a price tag of £16,000. It's also called the last cask, but they also said that about the final edition, which was the 3rd edition, before they came back with the 4th edition, and then this one, the last cask, and then the Black Bowmore DB5 edition, which came out in 2020. So the Black Bowmore series has got a bit of a interesting history, and we've got another video about Black Bowmore, the complete history of this series, on the channel, so go and make sure you check that out. Now the last cask now, 2016, the whiskey market have moved on a lot. The presentation is sensational with this. Now the cabinet was designed by a world-renowned designer called John Galvin, and he's also designed the Macallan Reach, the Bowmore Onyx, and he also designed the Black Bowmore cabinet, which sold for £400,000. And this was a set of all of the bottles of the Black Bowmore, except the DB5 edition, which is just a rebottling of the final edition. But it just goes to show the pedigree of this design. And when you see the bottle in person, it's mind-blowing. It's a phenomenal piece of design, and that's why it's the first bottle, my first dream bottle on this list. The next bottle on this list is estimated at $30,000 to $40,000, and it's also been the feature of another in-depth video on this channel, and it's of course the Macallan Millennium Decanter 50-year-old. Now, take a quick guess on how many 50-year-old Macallans, 50-year-old whiskies Macallan have released. Go on, quick guess and put your answers in the comments below. The answer? 5. They've only ever released 5 50-year-old whiskies. You've got the Macallan and Laing, you've got the Macallan 50-year-old, which is a 2018 release, you've got the 50-year-old that's part of the Red Collection, you've of course got the 50-year-old, technically 52-year-old, that's a part of the Anniversary Malt series. It was released in 1983, and then you've got this, the Millennium Decanter. Now, of all of those bottles, this Millennium Decanter is by far the most overlooked and undervalued by the market, in my opinion. The design is absolutely fantastic. It's a hand-blown Caithness crystal decanter. Inside the lid of the box, there's a piece of one of the original Macallan stills, the number 9 still. There's a piece of copper inside the lid of this box from the actual still, so you're getting a piece of Macallan history right there as well. And as I said, this is $30,000 to $40,000, which sounds a lot of money, but it's cheap in comparison to the others. The Millennium, the 50-year-old Millennium, is £100,000 at auction normally. The Macallan and the Laing is obviously tens of thousands of pounds. So this one, yes, it's a lot of money, but this is the dream situation. So if I could own any 50-year-old Macallan, this would probably be the one that I'll go for. The third bottle in this dream lineup is my favourite in this list, hands down, probably one of my favourite bottlings that's ever been produced, and it highlights the fact that who gives a damn about whiskey? It's all about the presentation. And this is of course the Ardbeg Double Barrel. Now this was released for £10,000 when it first came out in 2007. The market in 2007 was completely different to what it is now, and £10,000 was a bold move, and it was only released in an edition of £250. But when you look at the presentation of this, it's absolutely phenomenal. Now, starting off the whiskey itself, it's incredible 1974 vintage whiskey, and there's 2 single cask bottlings in each of these sets that came from 3 pairs of casks. So the arrangement of bottles within each set is pretty much unique. Now, the labels on these bottles is sterling silver. It's engraved sterling silver. It's done by Hamilton and Inches, and of course this whole set is in association with Purdey, probably the most famous of gun manufacturers. So obviously it's meant to replicate a shooting case where you've got a pair of guns and all your other pieces, except in this you've got a pair of 1974 single cask Ardbegs. You've got a leather presentation case made by Purdey & Sons. There's 8 sterling silver cups made by the Scottish silversmith Hamilton and Inches. There's a silver and oak Omas pen, and there's 2 hand-bound leather books. There's also cleaning cloths to clean the silver on this as well, and it just really is a complete knockout presentation of whiskey. And there's a lot of information about this actually in this book, Ardbeg Heavenly Peated. If you've not got this book, it's about £50. We're going to do a review video on it shortly, but in here it says, according to Hamish Torrey, the initiative was conceived by us 3 or 4 years ago, before Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy came along and purchased Glenmorangie, and it was inspired by the tradition of a shooting party, so they created a double barrel gun case, and the rest is history. Now, the next bottle on this list is a bit of a, well, it's not whiskey, it's cognac. It's the Rémy Martin Louis XIII Black Pearl edition. Now, this is an £11,000 to £16,000. It was only released a number of years ago, but it's an absolutely fantastic presentation of the Louis XIII bottlings. Now, this is a special one. There was only 770 bottles ever produced, and it was made to celebrate the 140th anniversary of Rémy Martin, and the cognac, or the eau de vie in here, is between 40 and 100 years old. Now, the crystal decanter itself is made by the amazing French crystal maker Baccarat, and the shape of these decanters, in case you're ever wondering, it's inspired by a flask that was owned by Paul Emile Rémy Martin, the founder of the Rémy Martin brand, from a battle that was in the Cognac region in the 16th century. So the shape of the Louis XIII bottles comes from a 16th century decanter, and this is probably one of the most exclusive bottlings of cognac that there's ever been. We've sold quite a few of these in the past, and the presentation cases on these are just truly splendid. The doors slide open, revealing the bottle, and they just really are an absolute work of art. And at only $11,000 to $16,000, it's a bargain. Now, the final bottle on this list is the cheapest. It's only $900 to $1,200, and it is a Caol Ila bottling. It's a Hunter Laing Old and Rare 32-year-old, but it's a magnum of whiskey, people. Now, that's quite unusual for whiskey. Now, out of the 200,000 or so bottles that have ever been released of whiskey, less than 0.01% have ever been released as a magnum. There's actually less than 200 various bottlings of whiskey in a magnum format, and there's probably quite a good reason for that, because a magnum doesn't do have any beneficial purpose for whiskey, unlike wine. Now, with wine, magnums are there and larger formats are there because you have less air within the bottle, because it's obviously within a standard 70 centilitre bottle, you've got a small little bit of air at the top between the wine and the cork, and in a magnum you've got roughly the same amount of air but twice the volume of liquid. Now, with wine, it's that interaction between the wine and the oxygen that matures the wine, so the maturation in a magnum is different, and many say is much more beneficial. And likewise with champagne, you get more space for the yeast to do its thing, so magnums of champagne are meant to taste better than their single bottle counterparts. Now, as I've said, with whiskey, you know, this really doesn't make any difference. You don't get any maturation in the bottle, so it's just literally bling. And, you know, if you're looking for something that's rare and unusual to add to your collection, then this Magnum is for you. Now, in the Timeless collection, there are 53 Magnums in total, which just shows what a really incredible and deep collection that is coming up at Sotheby's on the 23rd of September. So there we have it. There's my top 5 dream bottles of whiskey. Now, what do you think? Would you have picked any of the different bottles? Get in the comments below and let me know what your favourite bottle is.